Welcome back to episode 16 of the Closing Time Podcast. Once again, my partner in crime, Travis, flaked on us and is not here today. Hopefully he's okay. Y'all check on him if you get a chance. But in lieu of Travis, I have somebody I'm really excited about to bring on the podcast today. Tripp Davis is my business partner. He is, for over a decade now, been a mentor of mine, both personally, professionally, and also with regards to personal finance. And Tripp and I partnered together. When was it?
2014.
You remember the exact day.
August 1, 2014.
August 1. I remember that specifically because Tripp is the only person in the history of the mortgage business that successfully bled his pipeline down at his previous company to zero.
Yes.
And then started fresh with a new company.
And closed 2.7 million in that month prior to coming over with a 0 month. Yes.
And that had to have been at that time 20 loans, or 15. I mean, it was a double digit.
It was a good
number
month,
of loans closing. It was a good month.
Yeah.
He closed that in July at his previous company, and then started over with zero at our company. Didn't leave a file behind. Didn't transition a loan over. Like, did it the exact right. Like, people should emulate the way you transition.
We talk about the power of leaning in. You can also lean out when you're wanting to exit something and give off bad juju, or I guess whatever, and not recruit business. And then I had to ramp it back up. So, but anyway.
And you did so quickly.
I think it took a minute, but it's, but anyway, yeah.
So I don't believe that you listen to the podcast. You hear me talk enough throughout the day. So for anybody
I haven't listened to all 15. That's true.
You hear enough of me because we share.
Right.
We're right next door to each other in an office, and we talk often throughout the day. So I don't blame you. I'm not even upset with you for not watching the podcast, but I talk a lot on these episodes about personal finance and how using leveraged real estate can help people achieve financial goals that they have.
Yes.
And you and I were talking this morning about an article you read, I guess, just the number of millionaires. Kind of talk through what we were talking about.
Right. I don't have all the specific numbers, but the general principle behind it is that the number of millionaires in the U.S. has, over the last, let's say 20 years, is probably 4 or 5 times what it was before. And the two driving things that are doing that is, number one is equity and home ownership. That's home values have gotten to where they're pretty big, and that's driving, as prices go up and your mortgages go down, your equity goes up, your net worth goes up. The other component in that is that starting in I think it was probably like the 1990s, the companies quit taking responsibility for people's retirement and started having people do their own retirement savings through 401ks and IRAs, and those balances have started getting bigger. So those two things, home ownership and personally owned retirement accounts, have caused the number of millionaires in the U.S. to really snowball. I mean, it's really gotten to be a substantial number.
I mean, 5X is a big increase in that.
I can remember in the Millionaire Next Door, which was written in like 1995, that the percentage was around 4%. And I want to say that it's 16% now of households in America have a millionaire net worth household status.
That's eye-opening. I was not aware of that. It seems that seems high.
There was in some situation where it caused me to guess based on what I had historically known, and I was way off. I knew it was higher, but I had no idea it was over 10%. Yeah.
And so, to your point, when you said companies stopped taking responsibility, you're talking about pensions.
Yes.
And then people started at that point more so investing into 401ks and IRAs.
Correct.
And as they've continued to invest and the stock market has increased, plus paying down mortgage balances and their home values increased.
Yes.
There's 16% of America is a millionaire.
According to a source that I read, and I want to say that it was like the St. Louis Federal Reserve's article or something like that. So it was a fairly reliable,
trustworthy source.
Trustworthy source, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess how that would pertain to a mortgage and real estate related podcast is home equity is a very valuable part of somebody's net worth and something that should be considered.
It is.
So is there, in your mind, if you're and you have children that are getting to be home buying age at this point in time?
Kind of scary thought, but they're getting close. Yes.
Yeah. Are you encouraging them to buy houses early in their careers?
I will be. Yes. I mean, I don't have one my first one's graduating college, in May. So, in 60 days. So, and she's got 3 more years of school. So, but it's something that'll definitely be on the radar. I'll be probably looking to help facilitate that, and setting some money aside to help them do that a little bit. I want them to have a definite role in it themselves, where they're, it's not just dad doing it for them, but I want to do something to encourage them. Like I've done with their retirement savings. All four of my kids have already started, with Roth IRAs. The oldest any one of them did that was probably age 17.
And I don't know that I did a good enough job in the intro describing the role you've played in my personal finance, but when you and I partnered together in 2014,
yes,
I had I don't know, maybe even a negative net worth at that time. It wasn't.
You had some equity in your house. But it was under 100,000.
Definitely under 100,000. And if my cash net worth was even considered, it was in and out.
Right.
You describe it as 2D finance, personal finance versus 3D personal finance.
I love the concept of 2D and 3D. So
describe that. Yeah.
So 2D is where it's like a line. A line is a point is one dimension. A line is two dimension. And when money is just coming and going on like a budget, you make $1,000, you spend $1,000, you make $1,000, you spend $1,000. I call that 2-dimensional. 3-dimensional is when you make $1,500, you spend $1,000, you set $500 aside, and it starts stacking up, and it's going to add that third dimension of growing and growing and growing, and that's your net worth. And in the compounding value of that becomes really significant over time. But most people in America are trained with a 2D mentality. Money comes, money goes. And what I really encourage people to do is to, work on getting that third dimension built up to where eventually this stack gets so high that you don't have to worry about the 2 dimension anymore, because it's got enough to take care of it indefinitely. And, that's the goal of being self-reliant financially.
I don't know that I would say trained on a 2D mentality, but I'd certainly behaved with a 2D mentality when you got a hold of me.
Right.
You taught me what a personal financial statement was. You taught me how budgeting is important, especially with variable income.
Right.
And we just talked on the last episode that like my income was variable for the greater part of 6 or 7 years, and it's still variable.
Right.
But it was variable down to zero in a lot of situations early in my career about when we partnered. And so that information to me was extremely valuable. I mean, you've taken me from, or helped me get from a, zero net worth essentially with some equity in my house and $5,000 in the bank to what I'm at today, which is pretty significant. I'm not top 1%, and you've busted me about that, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
And so that, based on my age range and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I am proud of and very appreciative to you about.
I'm glad to have been a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, and you continue to be, and it's something that I now, and you, I know, do as well. Talk to a lot of our clients about. Like we go a level beyond what a standard loan officer would in a lot of situations, and talk to our clients about budgeting, saving, stacking up, the third dimension.
I think something that adding to that, it really is. Obviously, I do care about my clients, but my clients tend to come and go in 30 or 45 day waves. And I don't have that opportunity to really get into a relationship with them. But for our realtor partners and for our employees that work here with us, the people that were in and out of this business, which is a hard business. I mean, it's a good business, it's a rewarding business, but it's a hard business. And it, to some degree, will take a toll and wear on you. And what I like to share with people is, hey, when you've given your blood, sweat, and tears to this business for a number of years, make it count. Because what happens if you earn a lot of money over a 15-year period of time, but you're stuck in 2D and you haven't set aside anything? In essence, you've done it for free. I mean, it's bought your groceries, but I would argue that third dimension, the stack, which is your net worth, is your actual compensation for what you've done, for the time that you've given into whatever it is that you do. And because this is hard, because it's challenging, because you're going to give blood, sweat, and tears, I want the realtors that I work with, I want my employees here, I want me to have something to show for this when we're done with it. And you have to be intentional about it. It does not happen to you because America has got us trained to be in 2-dimensional. That next purchase, the marketing impressions on a person is 10,000 marketing impressions a month, trying to get the money out of your pocket. If you're not intentional about trying to set aside the money and having a plan for it, and just knowing where you're going, the Millionaire Next Door is one of my favorite books. And in that book, basically the study of many millionaire households, going deep into the psychology behind it, 1/3 of those households were wired so tight that they couldn't help but being millionaires because they're tight. We all know people like that. The other 2/3 had to be intentional, and the average amount of time they spent doing financial planning per month was 8 hours per month. That's a lot. That's
a lot.
2 hours a week. And I think anybody hearing this podcast who is not in the 3D dimensional world of personal finance, who's not had a habit of being intentional about it, is going to laugh at that and scoff. But, think about it. Would you, for $1 million or $2 million or a $10 million net worth, would you spend 2 hours a week doing your financial planning? I would. I mean, that's my goal. And so I'm intentional about it. I'm willing to give up that time. And it's not that every month, but I mean, it's, the point is that the people who do achieve success are intentional about it. So, I like to talk to the agents that we work with, our employees who are open to talking about it. I've studied personal finance for over 30 years now, reading from resources that I really enjoy reading. I read a lot of articles. I've got my favorite books. I think I've got 5 books that I recommend for people who are, in my opinion, more valuable than a college degree to your net worth, which is a pretty bold statement. 4 years and $100,000 or $100 off Amazon to read 5 books.
And 10 hours of your time.
I'm a slow reader. It would take me more than that. But yeah, I mean, it's, but still, I mean, it's something that if you don't take seriously, then you're doing corporate America a favor and just playing into their world, being stuck in 2-dimensional, spending your money to buy their goods and products, and you're selling yourself short.
So with regards to like buying a house at this point, I'm going to transition back from that just slightly, but a mortgage is you're going to have a housing expense most likely at some point in your life.
Right.
If you're paying rent, there is no third dimension to that at all. And at the very least, if you're buying a house, you're going to get the home equity appreciation. And as money comes in and money goes out, your mortgage payment, a portion of that goes to pay down the debt balance every single month. So it's almost a forced savings account. Would you describe it as that?
I would definitely agree as a forced savings account. And owning a home may, in the immediate time frame, take a little bit more of your cash flow. I mean, when you rent, you don't have to pay for your HVAC to be replaced. You don't have to pay for your roof. You don't have to, replace the hot water heater. There may be some things that you take care of, but over time, that forced savings is really going to grow for you. And as you get further into your mortgage, a greater percentage of it will go towards principal reduction. And if real estate is growing at 3% per year, that's a compounded 3% per year. So after you've been in a house for 10 years, you'll find that the 3% is going to be not just what you originally paid, but also on the growth. Another big thing is this has really been big here over the last 5 years is if you don't get into the game and you're missing that growth, you risk being stuck on the sideline. I mean, you want to get in the game. I would say that that's particularly relevant to us in South Carolina. I think most of our people that we work with here are in South Carolina. South Carolina is such a target state for people, net gain of population. People are moving here because we're disproportionately low on the price. We're still out of balance where we are low on price versus other parts of the country. That's attractive. And people are moving there. I still think there's an opportunity to take advantage of that. And I think it will continue until you have more of a balance there. So I think it's still a good opportunity to get in there, but sitting on the sideline makes it harder. Every year you sit on the sideline, it makes it harder and harder for you to get into the game.
Even if it's just psychologically.
Absolutely.
Like you're looking at a house 5 years ago that was worth $300,000. That's now worth $400,000. And you're like, holy cow, I missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
Without seeing the future of that house being $500,000 or $600,000 10 or 15 years from now.
Right. That $400,000 house is probably going to be a $500,000 house.
And the same would be true for the stock market?
Yes, stock market's pretty volatile right now, but I'm not pulling out of the stock market. It's definitely something you just need to get in, and if you get in and it goes down a little bit, don't lose faith. It's always come back. Over 100 years history of it coming back. So yeah, getting into that and staying in that over the long haul is also a good thing.
What advice do you have to somebody who's, I don't know, a couple years older than your children and my children that is considering buying a house but isn't sure if they're going to be somewhere for a certain period of time? Like, how do you advise clients on that level?
Can I go into the 3 C's of lending?
Please do.
Brian accuses me many times of this being the most boring part of lending, but it's the basics. I mean, take care of your credit, take care of your cash flow, which is your income, work, your capacity is the middle C. And then the third C is cash to close. So keeping good credit, making sure you've got a work history that's reported, that's verifiable, and saving money for having cash to close. The last thing that I would really throw in, this is not related to the mortgage, but the number one thing that a young person can do that wants to be financially independent is work towards maxing out your contributions into either Roth 401k or Roth IRAs every year and setting aside a portion of your income to do that. That and home ownership. And even if you stop with the intentionality at those points and you contribute 10% or 15%, 10% is probably more realistic, 10% into a Roth investment, and you get into a home ownership situation, odds are good you're going to be okay.
So I've tried to argue against you on the Roth versus traditional contributions, and you shoot me down every single time.
Right.
My mindset is more of a 2D mindset on that, I think. Because I'm looking forward to either A, I can contribute more of my dollars because I'm getting a tax benefit if I contribute to a traditional.
Right.
And you are looking more towards the future and saying, well, when you withdraw that, you're going to pay taxes on it. And if you do a Roth, you don't. So you're foregoing the benefit of the tax write-off today to get the longer term gain.
Right.
But if I was, let's just say it's the same net dollars amount, I'm able to contribute more into a traditional.
Right.
So have you done math on the growth of that and how it would compound? Like, am I going to be worried about the tax rate if I've got an extra?
I wouldn't say that like I've done an analysis on it, but there's several theories just to respond with. Number one is, to your point, if you're contributing $100 of Roth versus $100 of traditional, you've actually contributed more because you've already paid the taxes on it. So that might be 130 versus 100. I think that was one of your points. Mm-hmm. We don't know what future tax rates are going to be, but our country has a fairly high debt level. At some point, we're going to have to face the music on that. To face the music on that means more taxes. So that concerns me. There are significant estate planning things where a Roth is a better thing to leave as a legacy versus leaving a traditional. And if you, so many people today are working what people that are a generation older than me would call mini careers, 5 years here, 7 years here, and you've got this, and you can put you can do a 401k and then put it here, and then you work another and you put it here, and you've got all this. If you're, between 59 and when you start drawing Social Security, having the Roth is, and not having the taxes and having some that's taxable gives you multiple tools that you can use that will impact your tax strategies. So much more flexibility in the Roth. And it just, the reason for starting, if you're 25 years old and you're doing it in a Roth, if money doubles in value, let's say every 8 years, that would be like a 9% return on your money. And you're 25, so you would have to 34, 43, 52, 61. It's going to double 4 times. And then you're not going to pay taxes on it. But if it doubles 4 times and you pay taxes on it, you're paying tax on 4 times as much money as you would be if you'd already paid the taxes on it. So the other thing is that for people who are young, most times their peak earning years are later on, meaning that you're, all things held constant, you're probably in your lowest tax bracket in your 20s versus your 30s, 40s, or 50s, or even 60s. And so it's an opportunity for you to go ahead and pay the taxes on it when the rate is lower versus paying it when it's higher. And that's if all things are held constant, which they probably won't be. My guess is the rates will probably go up for tax rates. It just makes sense for us to pay for our debts as a country.
So you would look at me like I'm silly for arguing.
I always look at you like you're silly, but go ahead.
It's not going to be a short. Going to have to be. Fair enough. So, I mean, but in your mind, there really isn't an argument for a traditional unless you just absolutely needed the cash flow and were dedicated to.
The only argument would be if your employer doesn't offer it and there's a match, then you do that. If they only match the traditional and they don't match the Roth, which I don't know that would be the case, but No, I mean, I'm a fan of the Roth. I'm sold out on investing in the
And
Roth.
if you're self-employed or if you don't have a company sponsored 401k, you would advocate for the Roth IRA.
Roth IRA. Yeah, I think the limit for that is $7,500 this year for an individual contribution.
Okay. What other tidbits of information do you have to pass along to people? How important in your mind is budgeting when you're going through this financial planning process?
Budgeting, being in control of your budget is like, my wife and I had paper budgets for the first several years of our marriage. And it got to where it became a habit, and then we didn't need the paper budget. And then anytime we felt like we were kind of slipping up or losing control, we reinstituted the paper budget. I think that it's very possible for somebody to, if you are setting aside 15%, which would be a generous percentage to go into retirement, and you're paying all your bills on time, then the value of a paper budget, is it there? Yeah. If it cramps your lifestyle and you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you're not living in 3D personal finance, a budget is a way to name the purpose of every dollar and get you out of that 2D mentality and into 3D mentality. So to me, it's a tool to get you out of that. I don't think it's something that everybody needs to stick to forever. But I don't know if I've shared with you, but my mentality on the first 5 years of my professional career from age, say, 22 to 27 had the greatest impact on where I am now. And I can remember when I graduated from Clemson, my first job paid $15,600 per year. $7.50 an hour is $15,600 per year. My net paycheck was $458 every 2 weeks. I bought a house that year. I was on a budget. My budget was so tight that my biggest variable bill was the power company, and they would read this is old days, so they would read my meter at my house on the 20th, and I would get it in the mail on the 24th or 25th, but I could call them on the 21st and find out what my power bill was going to be before it got there and know if I needed to go work another shift at Domino's Pizza or mow somebody's grass to have enough money to cover it. So I was that tight and that much control, and now I've been rewarded, and I don't need to be loosey-goosey. I can buy a new car. I mean, Dave Ramsey would tell you don't buy a new car. Well, I've bought 2 new cars in the last 2 years because I was in the mood to do so. I mean, you get freedom. People think that a budget is something that's restrictive. What it is a tool that's going to set you free. If you will be disciplined for a period of time, you can have a lot of fun. And now that I've been very disciplined for 35 years, I'm at the part in my life where I can have some fun, and it's great. I mean, I didn't buy a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari, but I mean,
You have a nice car?
bought a nice car.
I would argue that you buy new cars now more often than you buy new clothes.
That's fair.
That's fair.
But I like this cross-country vest here that I bought last year. So
Yeah, it's good. You and I are different a little bit when it comes to budgeting. Like, you were stricter than I ever have been. The way my operate inside my brain.
very few people would be as intentional as I was in 1993. I mean, I was really crazy intentional about it. But I'd gotten into some good books that I was reading, and I think it comes down to people have a vision for themselves. You either have a vision for yourself as a financially independent, call it a millionaire because that's just an easy word to use, but somebody who's financially self-sufficient, or you don't. And I had that vision for myself, and I was going to do what it took to get there. I mean, over my life, I've also run some marathons. I did an Ironman, and those are things that you don't show up on race day and, go have success at. You have a vision that you're going to do that at some point in the future, and you start taking the steps to get there. And it's important. I mean, you can, here's the alternative. Here's what America's headed towards. You're going to have multi-generational families sharing household expense. You're going to have a 6-bedroom house with 3 generations living in it because none of the generations can afford to live independently. There's nothing wrong with that if you choose it. I'm not choosing that. I don't want to be forced. I don't want to have to go to my kids and say, I did a poor job of planning. Can I live with you? It's different if you're doing it because you want to, but because you have to me, that I personally would be embarrassed by that. I would feel like I just hadn't done my job. And so doing the right stuff puts you in a position to choose what you want. If you want to live multifamily generation, great. But don't do it because you have to. And it puts you in a position where you can take care of somebody else as opposed to having to go somebody else and have them take care of you. And but I believe in the laws of financial physics. There's a balance. For every action taken here, there's going to be a consequence later on. So if you don't put your money into investing for your retirement early on, there's going to be a consequence. It's granted, it's 30 years down the road, and that's not very painful today. But sooner the better. The first book I ever read on personal finance, I don't even remember the name of the book. It was the guy who founded James Stowers. He founded American Century Investments or 20th Century Investments. Only thing I remember from the book, he says the best time to start investing was 5 years ago. The next best time is now. And so, I mean, you just gotta, you gotta have a vision for yourself. You gotta believe that you deserve it. And most people subconsciously, I guess they just don't believe that they deserve it. They don't envision themselves. That's why you would have, somebody who won the lottery or became a professional athlete and lost their money. They didn't have a vision of themselves belonging in that place. And I had a vision for myself. You've adopted a vision for yourself. You believe that you belong there, and you're probably more intentional now than I am on a lot of the things that you do.
Well, what I do is I pay myself first.
Yeah.
And then after that, I don't have to be as tight. If I am accomplishing the goal of saving the 20 or 25% of my income every single month, after that, I know it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
After that, I have the freedom to do what I want and have the fun that you're described.
And this is kind of fun, but I think we ought to write a book. And here's why. Personal finance books are as old as the Old Testament. I mean, there's thousands of years of people writing about it, and there are very few concepts in personal finance that are revolutionary. But the idea of being intentional on the front end so you can buy 2 new cars, once you've been doing, you got to suck it up, Buttercup, for 5 years. You got to be tough. But once you make it past there and you continue to set 15% aside, I'm fine with a zero-based budget after that allows you to blow the rest of your money. So if you can afford trips, cars, eating out, a more expensive home, as long as you're honoring that first part of setting aside and paying yourself first, as you said, in all the books on personal finance, nobody's focused on the second part of that, which is living large. And, I think to me, that's motivation. I like to go out and run 6 miles on a Saturday morning so I can have chocolate cake in the afternoon. It's that mindset. I want that chocolate cake, but I don't want the consequences of the chocolate cake without the exercise, So, I mean, it's an intentional thing. And I think a lot of things in life, when you're intentional, can be a lot greater than they would be if you don't, work towards that goal.
Well, man, I appreciate you being on the episode
Absolutely.
with me today. If you guys want a list of the books that Trips swears by for personal finance,
Yep.
DM me. I'll get those to you. I've read all 5. They're all very, very valuable. Or if you want a link or a signed copy of Trip and I's future book when we end up writing it, we'll get you one of those. So shoot me a DM if you have any questions about any of this. We'd love to walk you through it. Trip, once again, thank you for a decade plus of mentorship and friendship and being on the episode with me.
I enjoyed being here. Thank you.